Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and as you can see on the table in front of you, I've been to Golborne. If those of you that don't know, basically Golborne's it's a radio swap meet held by the British Vintage Wireless Society, and it's basically how they raise a little bit of money for their funds, and it's mostly radio related equipment, but bits of test gear turn up there, and even, as you can see, I've picked up a couple of bits of vintage computer stuff as well. So what I thought I'd do in this video is just have a look through basically what I've picked up, let you know what I've paid for this stuff, and we'll perhaps have a bit of a test of it, some of the stuff anyway, see what we've got. Shall we start off with these? Now I picked, these are, let's have a look at the make now, Black Star. These are bench multimeters, so bench top, they have a nice little stand on the base, sit on your bench like that, mains powered, and we've got you know, your usual, your volts, ohms, amps ranges. They're in reasonably nice condition. They were sold as, they most likely work, but they couldn't be guaranteed as working, but the chap that I bought them off did let me plug an IEC lead up each one, and they all power up. They all seem to work. I went through some of the ranges, obviously didn't have anything to actually test them with, but the range buttons move, the decimal point moves where it should move in everything. I paid £2 each for them. So what my idea here is when I'm working on like a computer and I want to check some voltages, see what voltages are actually in there, generally speaking I have to pull out about, you know, 3 little pocket multimeters and set them up on the bench. What I was thinking is that's just a much more neat solution. I have a stack of these, and I can basically use them for measuring, you know, monitoring 3 different voltages, supply rails on a computer at the same time. And like I say, it's just a much more neat, elegant solution than a load of portable meters lying around. What I was thinking I could do is actually make an IEC lead up with 3 IECs on it to one socket, and then they can just plug in the back. I don't know how much I'm going to have this set up now. This is more for when I actually get my new studio eventually sorted out. And when you see, you know, kit like this going at that kind of price, you don't turn it down. So I snapped them up. I also picked up an iOmega zip drive. Now unfortunately it is the parallel port version. I have been trying to get hold of one of the SCSI versions of this, but these seem to have gone rather expensive on eBay when they turn up. I do have one of the SCSI 3.5 inch, you know, fits in a 3.5 inch bay version, or is it a 5 1/4? I can't remember, it's 3.5. But anyway, I've got one of the ones that fits in an actual PC bay, but I would quite like a SCSI portable, portable one like that, but a parallel port one's better than nothing. It doesn't have its power supply with it, so I'll have to see if I can rake out a power supply that will run it. I think I've got a parallel cable that will work with it. But these discs are now getting quite pricey in their own right. Because obviously they're not made anymore, and when they do turn up, they do tend to be reasonably pricey. Can't guarantee all these work, but I paid £3 for all the zip discs and the actual drive itself, which, you know, you can't really complain at that. Even if just half them actual cartridges work, the zip discs work, it's still worth £3. I also picked up an old IDE hard drive. I believe it's about 200, is it about, can't see here now, yeah, 260 megabytes. So these are getting hard to get now. Small capacity IDE hard drives. Again, I don't know whether it works. I think the guys seem to think it worked okay. That was £2. You just don't find these at that kind of price anymore, so that was well worth picking up. I picked up another little multi-tester, actually. My mate Andy over at Vintage Electronics Repair, he grabbed one of these as well. Chap that had a whole box of them. Now these used to be sold in candy stores, and I've never actually seen this clamshell version of it, but the very first multimeter that I ever bought when I think I was about 7 or 8 years old, or had bought for me, I think it was a birthday present. It was actually basically the flat, straight version of this exact meter. These were made by Micronta, I think that's how you pronounce it. I mean, they were cheap. I think they were a Chinese or Taiwanese multi-tester. I've never seen this exact clamshell version before, I must say. The one that I had was just, it basically looked very similar to that Micronta, just a straight multi-tester like that, and I had that tester for years when I was a kid. I can't actually remember what ended up happening to it. I know I did destroy one of the resistance ranges on it at one point. I had to repair it. But I literally bought that just for nostalgia reasons, really. Plus they are kind of useful, especially the fact you can tilt the dial like that, so when you've got it on your bench, you know, it doesn't take up that much room. It's a bit niftier than it just straight flat meter like that. Anyway, so you know, I picked that up. That was a £5, which is a fair enough price. I mean, it's a reasonably nice analog meter. They were fairly good meters for what they were. So I grabbed that. Right, let's move them out of the way and we'll get to the next. Put that down there, move that hard drive, we'll try that in a bit. And I have got, come on, there we go. This is a Hampeg 20 megahertz dual channel oscilloscope. I was looking at this on one of the bring and buy. As you know, I've got a Farnell 15 megahertz oscilloscope that I use quite often, and unfortunately it's starting to get a bit flaky. It's a fault that quite a number of the them Farnell scopes suffer from, and it's basically a lot of the controls on them, they just get very, very glitchy over time. And I have been in there and cleaned all the controls, and it was alright for a while again, but it is starting to get glitchy again. So I saw this and I was umming and ahhing over it. I have been thinking about actually saving up and buying myself like a 50 or 100 meg, even perhaps 150 megahertz modern digital oscilloscope, like either a 2 or a 4 channel one. But I just can't afford at the moment. There's other more important things I have to spend my money on. I thought I'd leave it, and basically the chap that had it and had it on the bring and buy just gave it to me. He's actually another YouTuber. He has a YouTube channel called All the Gear and No Idea. You might want to check his channel out as well, because if you're into radios and stuff like that, you'll probably enjoy his channel. But absolutely fantastic. He actually gave me that for free, so we'll be checking that out. I'll get that out of the way. And let's have a look here. Now these two radios, these came off the actual BVWS's own stall. It was getting towards the end of the event, and they still had quite a few radios to clear basically, and that's literally what these radios are. They're what have been donated to the BVWS. When they sell them off at these events like Golborne, it's their last chance at life. They either get sold at Golborne or they end up as landfill, essentially. And right at the end of the event, they, generally speaking, just offer them for £1. And I went to the offer, they said, right, any of the radios left, £1 each. So I went over, and I did spot this one. It looked quite interesting. I thought, for £1, I can't let that go for scrap. It's too nice a nicer set. It's I think pre-war. It's a Philips. It looks to be quite a high-end set. So I said to them, "Go on, I'll give you £1 for that one." And I handed my £1 over, and the chap said, "Well, you might as well take 2." So I got them for, basically they were 50p each. You cannot turn down like valve radios like this when they're 50p a piece. It'd be sacrilege. Even if they just ended up for spare parts, you got 50p each. You can't let them go to waste. And stuff like this going to landfill really would be a waste, even if they just end up as part sets, which I'm hoping they won't be. Let's have a quick look actually. Now, history is completely unknown, and when they come off the stall like that, you're not looking at, well, you don't know, it could be restored, it could be a part set already, someone could have ripped half the guts out of it, honestly you don't know. I haven't even taken the back off this one yet. That one's no back on it, but we'll have a look at that one in a minute. We'll have a quick look at this one first. This is a Corsair. I suspect it's probably early 1950s. I believe it's a Melody Maker. Let's have a quick look at the back. Yes, it's a Corsair Melody Maker. It's a 500 AC, so it is an AC set. Fortunately, it should have a mains transformer in there. Let's see if we can sneak the back off. It doesn't appear to, I think someone's cut the mains lead off it, which again, when you get these sets, generally speaking, they'll have most likely had the mains lead clipped off them just for safety reasons. It depends where they've come from. I mean, the BVWS, generally speaking, don't, because people that go to BVWS events generally are people like me, like Andy, like Steve. We know what we're playing with. Actually, is there a plug-in there? Oh. Right, okay. Well, it's a bit cobwebby, but that, I believe this actually has had some work done to it in the past. Yeah, I'd say it's very early 1950s, judging by it. I'm just wondering whether this would be a... It's an AC/DC. Oh no, it's an AC only. It's an AC set. That's a coil back there. Yeah, we've got a mains transformer there. So it's an AC. It's an AC only set, so it's isolated. We might. Might plug this one in. Put the back on it. It doesn't look absolutely terrible inside. In fact, it does look like someone may have actually worked on this radio before and restored it. That doesn't look like a original mains flex. I mean, it could be that someone's just put a new mains flex on it. I have seen that before, but that looks a bit too modern for that. Let's have a go. I've got some power block here. Right, let's give this a try. Dial light's lit. Well, we don't seem to have any tuning, so I think the dial card may have broken on it. Let's see if it picks anything up. Bit of mains hum. But no, I think the dial card's gone on it, unfortunately. But at least the amplifier's working in it. I won't leave it switched on for too long because we don't know what state it's in, but that's a radio for an upcoming video. I think we could do a resurrection video on that. I don't think that's going to take a lot to get back into working order. There's a little bit of damage to the plastic there. That's really common on these cotters. I think we can make that a little bit better. If we're careful with it now, I think we can fix that. But the plastic on these cotters, I've seen that it goes very, very brittle. It has cracked there, but I think we can possibly repair that. And that should make quite a nice little radio. Let's have a look at the interesting one next though. So that was the freebie that I got with this. This is the one I was intending to pay the £1 for. Ooh. And this is quite interesting. We've got a Philips radio. It's got some kind of tuning indicator there, but I'm not sure what actual style of tuning indicator it is. I don't think it's Magic Eye. I think it's something else. There's all kinds of weird tuning indicators that they came up with in the 1930s. So like I said, I don't believe that's actually a Magic Eye. I think that's something different. I can barely make out any of the names on the dial here. It's very, very faded. I'm not sure whether this is an English Philips or it's actually a European one. I have a feeling this may be European. Let's turn it round and we'll have a look inside. The cabinet obviously is in pretty poor state, but the veneer's good. I'll probably actually use this cabinet to do a video on doing some proper decent cabinet refinishing where we'll actually strip this finish. It's going to need a little bit of veneer repair, but not much, and perhaps do a French polish on it or something. I think it would come up really nicely with a French polisher's cabinet. But the back, this is what interested me. This isn't usual. We have a noise suppressor control here, an on-off here. I believe that's for speaker. I'm not sure. Is it a speaker, mute? It seems to be like a 2 or 3 position switch. That. We've got a tone control on the rear here. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a 7-valve set. And it does appear like someone may have worked on it in the past. This looks like it may be heat shrink that's actually replaced the original rubber that had been on here. Some of this wire looks like it's been replaced. That looks like it's heat shrink round there. Other interesting thing, seem to have a top cap missing off that valve there. I'm not sure where that's disappeared to. But this is a radio that uses side contact valves, which you don't see as often, side contact valves like this. Fortunately, I do have quite a few side contact valves in my valve stores, so spares aren't too much of a problem. They're not a valve that's quite as easy to get as some others, although there's, generally speaking, an equivalent in another valve base which is electrically exactly the same, and you can just swap them over. I have had to do that in the past when I didn't have the correct side contact valve. But I don't think we'll be switching. I don't think we'll be switching this one and seeing what this one does. But a rather ominous-looking 2-pin plug there, and I thought, what's that down there? It does actually have its mains lead with a right, okay. So we've got a mains lead with an incredibly old cable. It actually feels very, very flexible, but I don't know whether I want to trust plugging a radio in with a cable like that. But what I was just about to say is what I cannot see in there is a mains transformer, which means that this is most likely a AC/DC set. With it being an AC/DC set, depending on basically which way round you connect that, whether you connect it that way or that way, this chassis can be live. The radio does appear to have been worked on in the past, but I don't know by who. I don't know what their competence was. Let's see if there's an access panel on the bottom. No, there isn't. Right. This is going to be a radio for. I'm not going to try and just power this one up like I did the other one. Like I said, the other one was a 1950s, or very, very late 40s. No, it would be a early 50s Corsa. It has a mains transformer in there, and providing the flex was reasonably safe, because I was reasonably confident about actually powering that radio up. This is a pre-war radio. It is pre-war because it's side contact valves. It's an AC/DC set. It's live chassis, and it's got a rather ominous old cloth coloured flex. I'm not just going to plug this in. This is going to need some investigation work before we even look at perhaps powering this up. It'll certainly have to go through the isolation transformer, probably bring it up on a variac, but this is going to be an interesting radio. I need to do some research on this, because actually I've never quite seen something quite like this. The cabinet is incredibly thick. It's incredibly substantially made, the cabinet. I can't actually make out the model number at the moment, but it does have the Philips badge there. I'll have to perhaps get a magnifier on that and see if I can figure out what the actual model number is. But this looks a very, very interesting radio. What I think I'll do now, we'll pop upstairs and we'll have a quick look at perhaps some of these meters, perhaps have a quick look at that scope, might even see if that hard drive there is any good. So I'll pause the video now. So we won't do anything with the radios in this video, but we might have a quick look at some of the test gear, and we might have a look at that hard drive. So back in a sec. Okay, we're up on the bench, and I thought I'm not going to have a look at any of the computer stuff in this video, or else it'll make the video far too long. We can look at that. In fact, I've got a few other hard drives I've got stashed up that I've got from various places. So we might actually just do a video on testing some old vintage hard drives. So I'll leave that for that. But we've got all this test gear that I picked up that we let's have a look at. We'll start off with this little clamshell. Let me get you down on here so you can see it properly. There we go. We've got this little clamshell. So the make is Micronta. So they made a lot of cheaper end test meters and stuff like that. I'm not 100% sure on the age of this. The chap I bought it off seemed to think it was 1970s. I sort of think it might be possibly 1980s, but there's not really a much in it, to be fair. Dead simple. We've got an ohms range. It's got 1K. Then we've got 100 ohms, and then we've got 10 ohms. That's about it. And then we've got 1 ohm. There we've got DC volts up to 300 DC volts, 60, 15, 3, and then we've got a 0.6. We've got DC amps range, right down to microamps actually, up to 300 milliamps. We've got a AC voltage range, which is 15 volts, 60 volts, and 150 volts, and 600 and up, I think it says there. And then we've got off. So like I say, it's a fairly simple basic meter. We'll give it a quick test on the voltage range, I think, just see how it does. What I'm going to do, I've got my bench power supply here, just off shop. We'll turn that down. We'll plug some test leads into it. So we want DC volts, ohms, amps there, because we're only going to be going up to that's the common on that side. We'll go into there. We'll go to DC volts, and we'll set it to 60 volts DC. The most my little bench power supply here can output is 25, so that should be well within what this thing can manage. Right, let's have a go here. Switch that over to there. We'll connect it up and we'll just see. All I really want to see, the dial's out ever so slightly. It probably just needs calibrating. It is out ever so slightly. It should really be right down there, but we can adjust that. That's not a problem. There is an adjustment for that. But that's just the ohms adjust. That's when you're setting your resistance range for ohming out your leads. Let's see what this does on its voltage range anyway. We'll switch on power supply. I'll put the power supply to 10 volts, and we'll see what we see on the. We'll see what we see on there. So I'm outputting 10 volts on the power supply. DC. That's actually, yeah, that's not bad. No, that's not bad. Let's try going up to 15. It's under reading ever so slightly. It's a little bit out, but for what I want to use a meter like this for, which is really when you're peaking up the tuning, when you're aligning your radio, it's just a lot easier to see an analog meter move like that than it is looking at the digits on a digital display. That's really the only reason that I thought, well, and the fact that I used to have one of these, like I said, one of these, a very similar meter, was the first multimeter I ever owned. So there's a bit of nostalgia about it, but it will have, it does have practical uses. I do have quite a few other analog meters, but the fact that, like I say, it's this clamshell design where you can set it on the bench and actually angle it up like that, I think is really, really neat, especially for, like I said, if I'm working on a line in a radio and I just want to be able to quickly glance over and see a peak on there, it's quite useful for that. So like I say, it's going to do what I want it to do. And considering how old it is, it does feel new. You know, the rotary control there, it doesn't feel all mushy and worn like some of my testers are. Yeah, it still clicks, but it feels well used. I mean, yeah, I mean, this came out of a school. It was out of a closed down school. This was used by one of the techs in, I think, the lab, the science lab, or the CDT or something like that. So it's had lots and lots of use, and it feels, you know, a little bit worn on the selection there. This, it feels really, you know, really precise and clicky, because basically it is new. I'll shut that down and let's have a look at some of these digital meters that I got. I did have a quick look online about these, and these are rather nice. Now, I don't know what these cost new, and I don't think it would have been insignificant. These are a Black Star 3225 MP multimeter, made in England. These are British. You don't see, you know, like British tech, you know, British. It's. So this is these can't have been cheap. If it's made in the UK, it's not going to be cheap stuff. We'll power one of these up. I won't go through them all on this video. I'll just power one of them up so you can see what it does. So let's switch that on. It helps to switch it on at the wall as well. Now, I don't know if you can make out the display on that, on the camera. It's got a nice clear display. We've got DC or AC, ohms. Let's set it to volts there. Let's get the little common in there. And put the bench supply term right down. Let's connect that up like that. Let's put that up to say 10 volts on the meter. What's that showing there? 9.8384. Let's see. So either the well, it can't be by. I'm showing 10 volts on the bench power supply there, and it's what, showing 10.5 on the actual meter there. That's not bad. It's certainly going to be good enough for what I want. What I'll have to do is check it at 5 volts off a 7805 or something like that, and see if it shows a good 5 volts off that. We know these are going to be reasonably accurate. But I wonder if I've got any resistors kicking about. I wonder if I've got a variable resistor just lying around where I'm sat here, and we could just see. Let's see what we've got. I'm sure I should have a variable resistor lying around somewhere, somewhere local to where I'm sitting here. Believe it or not, no, I don't. I've got everything else component-wise. Let me just. In fact, there's some over there. I'm just going to go and grab a variable resistor, and we'll see what it does on the resistance range. Ooh. There we go. Don't know what value it is, but it doesn't really matter for what we want to do. Let's set this over onto the resistance range. Put it onto ohms there. Disconnect it from the Yeah, I should have really disconnected from the bench supply before I did that, but never mind. Right, we're on the resistance range. Let's see. On the ohms range, we want, what's this? What's values this resistor? This variable resistor. We don't know, so we'll start nice and high. We'll start at oh, it goes up to 10 meg. It's not going to be 10 meg, but we'll start up there. And we'll measure the resistance of the track first. Let's see what this comes up as. That's coming up about 1.1 meg. Let's drop that down a bit. Yeah, it's just over a meg, that. It's a 1 meg ohm potentiometer. What we'll try then, let me go on to the centre there, and we should be able to turn the resistance. That's full, and we should be able to go the other way. Yeah, and get it to drop. So that's working quite well. Excellent. I haven't really got anything to set up at the moment that we can test the current range on it, so I'm not going to bother with that, but I am super pleased with them. Obviously I'll have to test the other two. I'll test them all properly, but £6 for the lot. They were £2 each, these. I'm absolutely blown away with them. Like I said, those are fantastic. I'm really pleased with them. And I'm going to have them probably set up like that. Like I said, they'll be just perfect for monitoring. Say we're working on a computer and we want to monitor both, say, like the minus 12 volts and the plus 12 and say the 5 volts or something like that. We can just use one of these for each voltage we want to monitor. So really pleased with getting them at that price. And God knows what they would have cost new. Cannot have been cheap anyway. Like I said, made in the UK. Let's get those out of the way. Let's get that out of the way. I'll switch the bench supply off because I don't need that. I'll switch that off. Yeah, that's gone off. We'll plug that. And even the legs, even the stand locks in place, you have to move those out to drop the I've got it locked in position now and I can't get the bloody thing back. Oh, there we go. Yeah, so they've got proper little locks on the feet for the stand and everything. Really nice, those. And let's have a look at... Ooh. I've got this Hampeg 20 megahertz scope. So I've got a slight upgrade because my old Farnell scopes only goes up to 15 megahertz. So this goes up to 20 megahertz. It makes it that tiny little bit more useful. I really want something around the 150 meg kind of range. It will make working on some of the computers a lot easier, because some of the later computers, obviously we've got higher clock frequencies, and obviously I can't monitor some of the higher frequencies with the scopes that I've actually got. I mean, you can see that there's a signal there, but that's pretty much all you can do. You can't see whether it's correct or not, really. But this is going to serve me, hopefully serve me okay. We're not going to bother using it with a computer today, but what I thought I'd do, I'm going to dug out a scope probe. Well, because I don't even know how to use this scope. I'll have to grab the manual for it so I can fully. Obviously, it's somewhat different to the Farnell scope that I use. not that different actually. I mean, they're about the same age I'd expect. 90s. I think it's probably from either the 80s or the 90s. A nice bright CRT. That's good. Because again, the final one that I've got, it is starting to get a little on the dim side now. I think this is a dual channel, isn't it? Yeah, because we've got channel 1 there, and I think we've got channel 2 there. Where is the other? Oh, there you are. There you are. So there's our two tracers. Well, this is my really crappy probe, unfortunately. I've got a couple of probes. My other one's an X10 probe, which is a lot more useful. This is a standard X1 probe, but what I'm just going to use to play with, it's not really going to matter all that much. In fact, we've got a test point on here, haven't we? Probably set wrong here. Volts per division. There we are. Yeah, this I think is going to need a little bit of cleaning of the controls, but they're not terrible. They're certainly better than the ones on my Final. And a good thing is that the CRT is nice and bright. The CRT on my Final one is starting to fail now. Let's see if the other channel works. Oops. Yeah. That works. It's going. Obviously, I've not set this up properly yet, but it definitely works. Yeah, that's quite sweet, actually. So I've got so I'm going to have to get the manual for this thing because I am not 100% sure how all the functions work on it. It is a little bit different to my Final scope. All these basic analog scopes are basically fairly similar. I would be able to figure out all the functions and all the operations on it, but it's just easier. I know for a fact if I go online I should be able to get the operations manual for this fairly easily, and most likely for free as well. I should be able to find it somewhere for free. If not, then I'll just spend an hour or two just going over it and fully figuring out all the functions on it. But this is the kind of scope that was used in schools and colleges and places like that as you know, teaching scopes. They're bomb-proof. They are really, really reliable, basic scopes. So I'm quite pleased to have it. Like I said, at least now I can retire that Farnell one, which is getting a little bit tired now. I mean, it was again. Actually, I believe I bought that from Golborne quite a number of years ago. I didn't pay very much for that. And it's served quite well, but like I said, the CRT is starting to get a bit tired on it, and these controls here are starting to get, well, they're not there, I think they're up there on the Final, but they're getting very, very flaky now, and you have to keep jabbing at them, and sometimes they don't latch, and like I say, I've sprayed them down numerous times now, and I think it's just getting to the point where the mechanism's just getting that worn in it. So this will be a very, very nice thing to have. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. I'm sure I've rambled on far too long already, so hope you enjoyed this little video on the bits and bats I picked up at the Golborne event. So thanks for watching and goodbye.